So this plan very much builds on the success of the last plan, which was originally a 4-year plan but got extended to 5 because COVID-19 deferred the elections. And I think there what we've seen is substantial investment into Essex Police. So we now have 600 more cops than we had when I came into office 5.5 years ago. And we've already seen that bearing fruit in terms of reductions in the traditional crimes that we all know, sadly, burglary, theft, robbery, antisocial behaviour. Of course, COVID-19 was a major disruption, and it made life really tough for criminals, just like it made life tough for the rest of us. So crime across the board was down during that period, but those crimes were falling even before the lockdown hit. What we need to do more on, and that's really at the core of this plan, is particularly around violent crime. So drug-driven violence, we'd managed to stop the increase before COVID-19, but we hadn't managed to start getting it down seriously. We need to get that trend reducing, and that means dealing with county lines. It means dealing with drug dealing on the streets. It means working with young people to stop them getting into drugs and then into drug dealing and then into a life of crime. We've got some government funding for that. We've put some of our own money into that. And it's a priority for both Essex Police and for our partnership agencies across the county. The other thing that's really significant, I think, is domestic abuse. So we know that didn't go down during the lockdown. It's within close partnerships, it's behind closed doors more often than not. And I think it was really hard for victims, and those victims, of course, are predominantly women and girls. But not only, there are men who suffer as well. Really hard for them to report, and we'd made it a lot easier over time. We need to get that up and running again, but also we've learned quite a lot in recent years about how to deal with perpetrators of domestic abuse. We've got some good new programs that we've been rolling out across the county for that, and I'm confident that with this plan we will actually be able to start to see the number of incidents of domestic abuse across the county reduce. Those 20,000 extra cops across the country need to mean 1 million fewer crimes, not 200,000 people more brought to court. And that's what this prevention fund's about. So putting in place a chunk of money to fund specific projects across the county. Community groups can come forward, bid for the money, and put in place things which are going to prevent crime, either by putting in place good things for young people to do, or by designing out crime. There are a number of criteria, and please go on the website and look and see what the criteria are and come forward and bid.
Changing Life supports the most vulnerable children. We support them via educational workshops and sporting activities. The thing that we do, most important, is we find the hook of what children really enjoy. And our main priority is the sporting side. So we hook them in the sports that they really enjoy, if that's boxing, football, cricket, tennis or dance, and we incorporate into our educational workshops. And that really puts them on that positive pathway, and it keeps them here and off the streets. We'd plan a session based on them, so we'd really hook onto something that they really engage in. So if it's boxing, we would then get a boxing instructor down, or we would train our staff members to become boxing qualified, and then we would run those sessions to really support and engage our young people. We've had a young boy with us for over 3 years now, and he's worked so hard as being a positive role model now. He was getting himself in a lot of trouble on the streets, but now he comes to the hub, he supports us, he's now got a role within the hub, we call him our caretaker, and he's great. He comes in every day after college, and he's learning some real great skills, he's getting some qualifications under his belt. And he's doing great. I believe that early prevention is so important to our young people, especially as young as 6. I was threatened by a 6-year-old with a knife, and I feel it's so important to get them as early as possible and talk about knife crime and the danger of getting involved in gangs. And if we are able to talk to our young people about that and encourage them to stay away and get into sports or activities that are positive, then we will have a greater way of stopping them getting into gangs and that culture. The funding has helped us dramatically, especially during the COVID times when every shop was shut. We was open and we were supporting the most vulnerable, especially during the hardest times. The sporting activities that we was able to run here supported those young people, especially when all the other leisure facilities were closed down. And it's really got them through the darkest times. So I'd encourage any other organisation to get involved and to apply for the PFCC funding grants.
In Essex Police, we're committed to protecting and serving everybody in the county. And the growth over the last couple of years has allowed us to do that, both in terms of capacity and our capabilities. We must reduce crime. And with the priorities set in the Police and Crime Plan, along with our moral and legal duties, we'll endeavour to do that. Violence remains the biggest challenge, whether that's driven through drugs, supply and use, whether it's as a result of domestic abuse, serious sexual assault, or in the nighttime economy. Both the violence we see and those that happens behind closed doors. We will continue to try and prevent crime, working in partnership through our community safety partnerships, community and voluntary sector and all of the other agencies to make sure we prevent harm before it happens. We're dedicated to help people, keep people safe and bring people to justice where crime is committed, protecting them from harm. So together, with the extra commitment from the Police and Crime Plan, from the extra resources we've got, we'll continue to work hard to protect the people of Essex and to prevent harm and prevent crime before it happens.
Crime prevention, reducing drug-driven violence, reducing violence against women and girls, and reducing domestic abuse are the absolute heart of this plan. But of course, we are building on what we achieved in the last plan, where we had some really good successes, both reducing rural crime, actually helping the business sector and working closely with them and reducing business crime. And of course, online fraud hits businesses as well as individuals, and we need to do more on that. And of course, the other big area is the roads. So we've done a lot over the last 10 years. We've seen the number of people killed and seriously injured on Essex's roads reduced by 40%, but we have this ambition to see 0 road deaths in Essex. That's an important element of this plan as well. We'll be doing more about speeding, more about drug and drink driving, and more about not using your mobile phone at the wheel to make sure that people are kept safe on our roads.